Welcome to the Real Retirees of New Jersey, powered by Liberty Financial Group and Artemis Wealth Advisors. Randy and Peggy Fisher want to help you retire once and retire right. Get more information at therealretireesofnewjersey.com. They never throw the first punch, but they're always a knockout.
Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for downloading. But most importantly, thanks for listening. This is the Real Retirees of New Jersey podcast with Peggy and Randy Fisher. It's all powered by Liberty Financial Group and Artemis Wealth Advisors. You can get more when you visit therealretireesofnewjersey.com. You can find that and all the information here in the show notes. My name is Mark Owens. Now, let's get to the show. A lot of people are worried about is Social Security. And it came out this week, the new COLA, the cost of living adjustment. Now, for 2025, it's going to be 2.5%. So let's have a discussion about Social Security, because a lot of people are worried about that. And unfortunately, for some, it's going to be their only source of income in retirement. So talk to me some of the strategies that you're building for the families you serve regarding Social Security and how it could affect them.
Yeah, so the Social Security Administration had announced that benefit checks will rise about 2.5%, right, in 2025. Mm-hmm. So that would be, if you think about it, about $50 a month additional to retired workers on Social Security beginning in January. Now, $50, I don't know, to some may be, a lot. That may be another thing of groceries, right? To others, it may just be like a little small increase. Yeah. But it's definitely something when anybody comes into our office that we absolutely talk about. Almost one of the first things is, about, how will this help you? Is this the only thing that you have that will, let you get by? We love to talk about this with our clients because it's just one of the main streams of income to some that, it's crucial for them to get by, when they're retiring.
Well, years ago, people used to retire on bona fide pension plans, right? Guaranteed pension plans. You worked for a company for so long, you got a 40-year anniversary, they gave you a cake, a rocking chair, a watch, and a check that showed up every week.
Here
right?
it is.
and those are no longer here. I mean, those things are literally dinosaurs, right? And even some of those plans have actually changed where you continually hear, hey, my benefits have gone down or my benefits have changed or something's happened. So, those things are gone by the wayside. But that was the first part of your retirement income plan. It was your guaranteed green money, right? It was going to show up. It's a paycheck every single solitary month. The next portion was Social Security. What can you guarantee on top of because you paid into the system for a period of time? They've taken money out of your paychecks, yada, yada, yada. Next thing you know, you got a couple dollars coming. When this thing first came out in 1935, it was supposed to be around for you living too long.
Right.
And most people only collected a check for about 2 years until they passed away. Today, people are now collecting checks for almost 20 to 30 years in retirement on Social Security, and it's really weighing on the system. And the taxpayers are really having a problem paying for these things. Mm-hmm. And a lot of changes have been coming up. This COLA adjustment is really just come into effect over the last couple of years, because if you really take into consideration through the Obama administration, through most of the Trump administration, there was almost no COLA adjustments because we were in an inflationary period or deflationary period where there was no adjustment needed, right? So things were so low. We had zero interest rate environment. Inflation was basically running at almost a 0%, 1% rate. This adjustment of 2.5%, if you really think about it, it's still not keeping up with what the real adjustment is in inflation. When you go to the store, is bacon only up 2.5%?
No, way more than that.
Is gas only up 2.5%?
Way more than that.
Right? So, and what people really don't realize is when inflation happens, prices are adjusted. So, for instance, when inflation first started, let's just take a gallon of gasoline, for instance. It went up 9 to 11%. That gallon of gasoline went up. The next month, it's continued to rise by 3%. The next month, 3.5%. The next month, 4%. It compounds on top of each other over and over and over and over and over again. When you think about where inflation started to where we are today, some prices of goods and services are 20% higher than where they were 2 years ago.
All right.
And they're not coming down because then we would need deflation in order for them to come down. So when they say inflation is slowing, it just means that that good or service is not increasing in price as quickly as it was prior. So when you get a 2.5% adjustment in your annual income from Social Security, 2.5% is minuscule to what the real cost adjustment was on any of the goods and services in which you were actually buying. What's the moral to the story? The moral to the story is this. You're going to wind up spending more of your other life earnings and savings to buy the same good and service. Now, if you're not taking fees, costs, and risk into consideration, then you're going to erode your portfolios even further or more quickly, on top of compounding the cost of living. Mm-hmm. And we haven't even talked about taxes, if there was even a tax on top of the money you were taking out as well, right? So when we compound all of those things, the moral to the story is this: having a financial plan that takes into consideration the cost of living going forward, costs on the portfolio in which you currently have, the risk in which you're taking, and the money in which you're growing your money by. What's the real rate of return? All of those things need to be compounded or can take into consideration into the plan. And it is a plan. It's not a wish list. It's not a guess list. It's not a, hey, I'm just going to throw it into this type of an account and hopefully it grows. Hope is not a strategy. Having a legitimate written strategy as to how your income plan is constructed will help you afford things and afford a comfortable, appreciable retirement going forward.
Randy, do you find that too many people rely solely on Social Security as their only form of income in retirement?
Unfortunately, right now, it's definitely the bedrock, the cornerstone of people's retirement income plans. And what they really don't realize is that it can be taken away, or it will be taken away, if they're in a spousal situation where they're married and two people are collecting Social Security benefits. And eventually both of them are going to die. Everybody dies, right? Mm-hmm. But, during the course of a lifetime, when a spouse disappears, number one, it's a tough situation anyway. No matter when or who passes away, nothing is going to bring those people back. And you're going through a bereavement period, and it's extremely hard. To deal with a financial loss at the same time that you're dealing with a mental burden and a physical burden and an emotional burden, it just compounds the problem, right? So what people don't take into consideration is the lower of the payments of Social Security disappears at the death of a spouse. So if two spouses are collecting benefits, one's collecting $4,000 and another one's collecting $2,000, the $2,000 is going to go away regardless of which spouse survives. And the larger one is going to remain. But the loss in revenue coming into the household is certainly not just going to be commensurate with, okay, somebody disappeared, so the household needs a hell of a lot less.
Right.
Taxes still need to be paid, property taxes, food, energy, overhead, blah, blah, blah. Life needs to go on, right? So a lot of people don't take that into consideration. That's one thing that we literally educate people on the first day they walk through the door, and we talk about where are we going to start to develop and construct your roadmap to your income plan.
Right.
It's always good to have assets. Assets are wonderful, but they're just not an income plan. If I have a giant garbage bag full of money and I wanted to just pull money out of it on a monthly basis, that's not an income plan. That's just a bunch of money. It's the same thing if it was sitting in a mutual fund or a bank account or a 401k. It's just a block of money that you're actually withdrawing from. Number one, you have to take into consideration, how long will that money last, right? What is the time horizon on it? What's the longevity of the money and why? What is your spend rate? Are you spending too much? Or are you spending too little? We had a number of clients in here this past week, and we talked about really constructing an income plan and aggressively converting over IRA money to Roth IRA money in the years in which they're going to have a decrease in income when they first retire, to develop a tax-free bucket of money later in which they can develop a tax-free income source, which will reduce their taxation in later years.
Okay, wait, but before you continue, I think you need to explain that a little bit more, because there is so many benefits to a conversion if you take almost the slap on the wrist now to pay the taxes on a Roth as opposed to paying more taxes over time.
Absolutely. Peg, when you go shopping, big red sign, white letters, what does it say?
It says sale.
Sale, right?
I love those signs.
Love those signs, right?
Yes.
So do you normally go directly to that counter or to that rack first?
I go there hot and fast and furious.
Load up the cart.
Yeah.
Pushing little kids down, knocking ladies off their walker.
I may do that, Mark.
Fighting over things, right? So, what I'm getting at is this. Historically, if we look at the tax situation in the United States, the highest tax rate has actually been in the 90% rate, believe it or not, back in 1944. The lowest it's been, quite correctly, over the last 4 or 5 decades is right now. So what I'm trying to get at, ladies and gentlemen, is taxes are on sale right now. So if there is a way to actually pay less taxes overall, Let's try to take advantage of the scenario now. Now, I know a lot of people don't think that that's the case, because a lot of people are saying, man, I pay a lot in taxes, or I pay too much, or I'm looking at my paycheck and I see all this money disappearing. That's a true statement. Mm. But with the situation in which the government's got themselves into, with $35 trillion worth of debt, and more than 2/3 of the entire budget goes to Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, the United States is in a spending problem, not a revenue problem. And in order for them to fix it, they actually have to cut their spending, which they're not going to do. So in order for them to fix the problem, they're going to have to increase taxes, because the government doesn't sell houses, cars, ice cream cones, or hats. They only make their money on revenue from taxation. So if taxes are going to go up in order for them to pay for all these different social things that we need to go on, as well as running the government.
That's right.
You may as well pay taxes while they're on sale now. Now, it's not for everybody. Everybody's situation is entirely different. But as an accountant, what we do is we go over their entire situation from a tax standpoint first and find the little nuggets in which we can say, okay, this year or this part of the year, we're going to be able to convert over some of your IRA qualified money. And it's not going to send you skyrocketing into the next tax bracket. It's just going to allow us to basically be in the same bracket, pay a little bit on taxes, park that money on the side, allow it to grow compounding forward. And eventually I can withdraw from that account, that whole block of money, tax-free later.
Right.
So that's a big deal, especially when we're talking about inflation rates. Right. Inflation is going to be sticky, ladies and gentlemen, for a long time. We haven't seen this. For 2 decades, we really didn't have much inflation. If you're going to be retiring shortly, or you're already in retirement, you're potentially going to live through a 2-person, 3-decade retirement. If that's the case and we have sticky inflation, you're probably looking at inflation, real inflation, north of 3-4% for the next decade.
And we make sure when you come into our office that these are all the things that we'll talk about to make sure you're on the right track, going forward, and what we need to do to help you get through these times. Absolutely.
It's a little different than when you go to a basic broker. All they want to talk about is, hey, what did you make on your money? I can do better for you, blah, 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 blah. Now, that's all good and said. And that, you do need to get a required rate of return on your money. And we're all about that too. I mean, we can sit down and talk about all that good stuff. But what we want to make sure is, from a cash flow standpoint, cash is king when you retire, right? Income is the outcome that matters most in retirement. When you think about that, let me repeat that. Income is the outcome that matters most in retirement. You want a paycheck that shows up to your door every week, every day, no matter what's happening in the world, no matter who's bombing who, no matter what interest rate is out there, no matter how the stock market is doing. You can care less as long as when you go to your mailbox or your bank account and you open it up and there's money sitting in that account. It's not a matter of assets. It's a matter of cash flow.
I'm writing that down. Income is the outcome that matters most in retirement.
We live by that.
908-844-8337. These are the conversations that you're going to have with Peggy Fisher, Randy Fisher, and the team at Liberty Financial Group and Artemis Wealth Advisors. When we talk about Liberty Financial Group, Artemis Wealth Advisors, people think like, whoa, how many floors do you own in that building? How many people work for you? What you hear right now is what you get. So break it down for me, the difference between Artemis Wealth Advisors, Liberty Financial Group, and what can you do for us?
So at Liberty Financial Group, that would be my portion of our business here. And I rely solely with the insurance side of this. So we talk about homeowners, auto insurance, life insurance, annuities. And then Randy on the Artemis side, Randy's the wealth advisor here. He'll help you with anything to do with stocks, bonds, whatever you need in your financial portfolio to get you through. And with the two of us, it's two heads going together at one, which sometimes is always nice, right? And you listen to different things. Randy may pick up on something, or I may pick up on something different. And then we could, collaboratively talk together about, hey, our clients are in need of this, or our clients are in need of that. And then we always make sure that, we are a full service here. We can do anything for you. We can do the insurance portion of it. We can do the wealth management side of it, to make sure that any of our clients who come in at any time can have, a vast knowledge and plethora of things that we can go over and talk about, make sure that you're going forward into the best retirement.
It's a boutique firm. We'd like to say that we have Wall Street experience on the Main Street side of the game right now. Again, going back to that whole fiduciary rule, we're a independent fiduciary, which means we have our primary responsibility and best interest in mind for our clients first,
right?
Not the shareholder,
right?
Where the SEC, basically their definition of a fiduciary responsibility is, if I worked for a large firm, and they're a publicly traded company, and I'm not throwing any of them under the bus. And I've been to many of those meetings on a Monday morning where the manager walked in with a whole paperwork full of stuff and said, these are the, starts handing them out and saying, this is what we're pushing this week. It may not have always been good for our clients at that moment, but it was great for the shareholders because the company was making the most money for the shareholder based off of the sale of whatever security or product that they were peddling, right? I couldn't live with that for too long. So
Hence
that's why I left and I'm independent.
Yes.
And very successfully independent and in a fiduciary that does the right thing for the best interest of the client all the time.
And when we say independent, what that means out there, ladies and gentlemen, is that, we're not pushing any one product as being independent. No. I will look to the best and Randy will look to the best product that we think will be helpful to that customer.
And that does change week to week, day to day, quarter to quarter, year to year, because products change, companies change. Strategies change. Things are constantly evolving.
Right.
And what's good today for one person may not be good today for another. We're constantly shopping for the right product.
We are an independent financial services firm helping individuals create retirement strategies using a variety of financial and insurance products to custom suit their needs and objectives. Investment advisor services offered through Artemis Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Artemis Wealth Advisors is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your attorney, accountant, and or tax advisor for advice concerning your particular circumstances. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Randolph A. Fisher, insurance license number 9616074, and Liberty Financial Group, LLC, and Peggy Fisher, national license number 189420003 and 5705833.